138 MMA is back once again with another huge card for UFC 279. We have Nate Diaz taking on Khamzat Chimaev in the main event. Co-main event, Jingliang taking on Tony Ferguson in what should be fireworks for as long as it lasts. This card is going to be great from the top to the bottom. There's not as many big names as you would like to see on a pay-per-view card. However, there is something that really excites me on this card, and that's a lot of really close matchups and a lot of really exciting fights. And we're going to break this card down from the start to the finish. We're going to start with the early prelims and go all the way to the main event. So, without any further ado, let's get into the picks. All right, currently slated to kick off the night, we have Darian Weeks taking on Yohan Lainesse. As you see here, 3-2 and 4-1 on the 5-on-ends. The competition for Darian Weeks, he's 0-2 in the UFC, but he has been, nobody's done him any favors, let's put it that way. First fight in the UFC was against Bryan Barberena. Stepping in to take that fight with no UFC experience is no easy task. After that, they reward him by giving him a shot against Ian Gary, who is obviously a pretty hot prospect these days. So Ian Gary and Bryan Barberena are his two fights in the UFC. He hasn't won either of those, but he has at times made a good showing of himself with good crisp boxing, good volume, good decent head movement, things like that. So he's not totally lost in there. The 0-2 in the UFC does kind of, you got to take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. So for Yohan Lainesse here, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His only fight in the UFC is against Gabe Green, and that fight was an interesting one because he basically gave everything he had to get Gabe Green out of there. Came as close as you can get to finishing a person without actually finishing them, and then that was it. Blew his load then. He was done. So in that Gabe Green fight, when Lainesse dropped him, I could have seen another referee maybe stepping in and calling that fight right there. Not every ref is going to call a fight at the same time. They're not all going to see it the same way. So I don't think it was a poor stoppage. I just think that some referees would have stopped it there. So hindsight, who knows? We might see Yohan Lainesse coming in here undefeated had it been a different referee refereeing that fight. Either way, after the attempted finish there, he had nothing left. Gabe Green was able to take him apart for the next 2 rounds and win that fight. So good fight for these two. Both guys coming off of a loss. Both guys looking to get back in the win column. How they match up here, it basically comes down to volume versus power. Lainesse has a massive reach advantage as well. 4 inches. That wouldn't seem massive, but the way he uses his reach it's a bit harder to cross that distance because he not only has the reach, so he can hit him 4 inches before Weeks can hit him, but he also is able to use that reach in such a way to deliver those power shots, as we saw against Gabe Green when he dropped him flat to the ground. He popped back up, but like I said, any other referee could have stopped it. They may not have. It was close. It was close. Is all I'm saying. So the way I see this fight going, basically, it's going to be the volume and crisp boxing skills of Darian Weeks versus the power, the reach, and the explosiveness of Yohan Lainesse. If it goes to decision, I see it going very similar to the Gabe Green fight with Yohan Lainesse, where Darian Weeks would probably eke out the victory after getting a close call in the first round. However, I do think Lainesse is going to be able to get this one done. I'm not mega confident in this pick. Like I said at the beginning, there are a lot of picks on this card that are very, very close, razor-thin margins. But I'm going to lean towards Lainesse here. I think he does get the knockout. I'm sure he's been working on his cardio after totally falling off a cliff in that last fight. So my pick, Lainesse, but Darian Weeks got a shot here. All right, next up we have Elise Reed taking on Melissa Martinez. Martinez undefeated as a fighter so far, coming in 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Obviously, she's undefeated. Elise Reed, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Elise Reed, we're going to start with her. She does well in the striking department, but really struggles with the grapplers. Takedown defense is not her strong suit. Once the fight gets to the ground, she's able to get controlled and typically finished on the ground. Sam Hughes and Sijara Eubanks were both able to do that without too much trouble. And in that last fight with Sam Hughes, we saw how poor her takedown defense is because Hughes was able to take her down, I believe, at least 4 times. But so her takedown defense is rough. She is obviously a pretty good striker, and she has fought a lot better competition than Melissa Martinez. Martinez, though, even though she's primarily a striker, She has taken about 3 years away from MMA, supposedly to work on her grappling. So maybe there is some sort of grappling wrinkle to the game that we just don't know about yet. 5 of her 7 wins are by KO or TKO. Would you like to see that out of a striker? I do think this will primarily be a striking matchup. And with this one, with the unknowns of Martinez not fighting the best level of competition, and with Elise Reed not having to worry so much about the takedowns in a fight against a primary striker, it's a really close fight, in my opinion. I'll ever so slightly take Martinez simply because she's coming in with that momentum. She does have the undefeated record. She does have a lot of wins by KO or TKO. With that, maybe just the slightest bit, but leave this one off your cards if you're smart with your money at all. Leave this one off the cards. I'll take Martinez, though. All right, in our next matchup, we have Danyelle Wolf in only her second professional MMA fight, taking on Norma Dumont, who is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. I'm going to start by breaking down Danyelle Wolf's skill set. So Danyelle Wolf is pretty much entirely a boxer. She's been doing MMA for a couple of years now, about 3. But before that, it was just boxing. So just amateur boxing, was looking to make her way into the Olympics. I don't know that panned out, but she did have a pretty good record on the amateur boxing scene there. She did chalk up quite a few wins. On the other side, we have Norma Dumont. Comes from a Sonda background, so striking is still something she can do pretty well, but also she's been doing MMA for a lot longer than Danyelle Wolf. So I think this one's clear. I don't think there's a whole lot we need to spend breaking this fight down, aside from the fact that Danyelle Wolf does have a bit of a reach advantage, and she does have long, rangy, solid quality punches. So there is a chance that she puts her down, but Danyelle Wolf, being a 38-year-old women's bantamweight, making her, second, or debut in the UFC, but second only MMA fight, I don't see a high ceiling here for her. Norma Dumont has beaten much better competition. She actually has a fairly decent skill set in the grappling department. So clear victor here. I'm taking Norma Dumont. If you have it the other way and you know something that I don't about Danyelle Wolf's skills on the mat, and you think maybe she can hold her own and keep this fight standing, let me know in the comments. But for now, my thought is it should be pretty clear. As long as Norma Dumont doesn't go in there and try to do a boxing match against Danyelle Wolf, I think Norma Dumont should cruise to victory pretty easily here. Okay, so now we have Chad Anheliger taking on Alateng Heili. For Alateng Heili, he is 3-1-1, that extra one there being a draw. He's 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. Chad Anheliger being 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Now this is an interesting style of matchup because both fighters tend to more or less impose their style onto their opponents. And whoever does that best in this matchup is probably going to come out the winner. I want to preface this by saying this fight is one of the closest on paper for me. With that said, though, because it is so close on paper, and you do have Chad Anheliger as an underdog, it does make me say that if you are going to bet this fight, the way to go is the Anheliger side. However, like I said, this is a very close fight on paper, so my confidence level in this one is a little low. With that said, this fight here, Anheliger does seem to have more stopping power when he's throwing his hands and really engaging in those battles, trying to impose that will, like I talked about. However, Alateng Heili has beaten much higher level competition than Anheliger has. So for Anheliger, he hasn't faced anybody of the level of Alateng Heili, and I could see that coming into this fight, Heili knows how to battle back against someone who is trying to impose the will on them or on him. So for me, I do think Heili has a lot of upside here. He does mix up his attacks well. He goes with the striking to close distance, can mix in the wrestling, back to the striking. He does have a high output, but the thing that scares me the most about Heili here is that he does get hit when he tries to close distance. We saw it a lot in the Casey Kenny fight. He tries to close distance, gets hit on those entries, and often isn't able to fully get his game going once he's had that happen a few times. So for me, because he is, last I saw, like a plus 145 underdog, I'm going to lean the Anheliger side here because I do think that him having that stopping power when Alateng comes in and tries to close that distance, I could see him getting caught and put down. It wouldn't take much for Anheliger to be able to follow up on that. He does ride a wave of momentum coming in. I believe he's 11-0 right now for his fight streak. He went like 2-5 or something like that, or 5-2 or something. I think it was 2-5 in his first like 7 fights. And then he went on like a big tear going into the Contender Series, and now he's at I believe 11-0, maybe 12-0. But anyway, I do think that stopping power and that wave of momentum is going to help him a lot in this fight against Alateng Heili, and I think that he's going to be able to get the fight stopped if he does get the win. However, if it does go to the scorecards, I think Heili's going to be able to edge him out, because at that point, that means that Heili's been able to get in and close that distance. So if you have the option on your sports book to place the bet of only if the fight goes to the cards, that might be a really smart play. I'm giving you away a free one there. So if you want a really smart play, that might be a really smart play. Otherwise, this fight is razor thin on paper, but I'll take Chad Anheliger. Sorry, I'll take Chad Anheliger for my official pick. All right, coming up next, we have a really interesting matchup in the heavyweight division between Chris Barnett and Jake Collier. Both guys coming in with a similar 5 on in. Chris Barnett with 3-2 on his last 5, 2-3 for Collier. Something to take note of though. Those last 5 for Chris Barnett, not all of them have been in the UFC. I believe he's had 3 fights in the UFC, 2 of which are losses, 1 of which is a win. So with that said, those 2 of those 3 wins were on the regional scene, so you have to take that 3-2 with a grain of salt. Something I want to point out here before we get any further is this massive reach and height discrepancy. Jake Collier, 6'3", 78.5-inch reach, whereas Chris Barnett is 5'9", with a 75-inch reach. Now that's a long wingspan for a 5'9", because I believe 5'9" in height is 69 inches. So long wingspan for a guy that short, but he's going up against a guy that is 6'3", which is probably what he's used to. He is going to be the shorter heavyweight in almost every fight. But how far can you really go when you're that much shorter than all of your competition? When you're giving up reach advantage all of the time, your opponents can naturally hit you before you can hit them. And when you get to the higher levels of competition, that starts to show. So something I wanted to point out as well, Chris Barnett, wild KO ability. We saw it in the John Vellante fight, spinning heel kick or something like that, took him out, put him out completely. So really awesome on Barnett's side. He needs that to win though, which is the problem. So for Barnett, if he doesn't get a wild knockout, I don't see him winning this fight or very many in the UFC. So I believe it was his last fight. He started complaining a lot about like shots to the back of the head, started kind of almost throwing a fit. It was really off-putting for me as a fan, who at the start of the fight I was kind of rooting for Chris Barnett. He is an exciting guy to watch. It was really off-putting to see him just kind of rooting for a DQ victory, hoping that the ref would give him that nod. Maybe that's not what he was doing. I want to give the guy a benefit of the doubt, but it was not something you want to see out of a fighter. So I don't see a high ceiling for Chris Barnett in the UFC. That said, Jake Collier has come out on the wrong end of a lot of really close split decisions, some that really probably should have gone his way. I know personally that I had picked Arlovski to beat him, and I guess on paper he did, but even the guy who picked Arlovski against Collier in that matchup, I think Arlovski lost that fight 29-28. I would have given that to Collier. But, like I said, he's come out on the wrong end of a couple of really close split decisions that he probably should have won. One thing that does kind of sounds like a negative, but is a positive, is that Jake Collier is probably the top tier of the bottom tier heavyweights. So I wouldn't put Jake Collier in the level of heavyweight that has a chance at running for the title. Now, if Jake Collier happens to find this video, he can feel free to rip me up in the comments and tell me how wrong I am. Let's see how his career pans out. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and become a heavyweight champion someday. I don't see it. To me, he seems top of the bottom tier. So he's going to beat, if you put him in there, 9 times out of 10, he beats guys like Chase Sherman, Josh Parisian, John Vellante. Like, he beats all of those guys that are basically the bottom tier of the heavyweight in the heavyweight division. Now, all those guys are still really, really talented fighters. Don't get me wrong. They're beating pretty much everybody, even at the higher levels of the regional scene. That's how they got to the UFC to begin with. But they're bottom tier of the UFC, and it's just the way it is. Somebody has to be ranked somewhere. That's how that works. So for Jake Collier, I do see him as the best of those bottom tier guys. And unfortunately for Chris Barnett, as we saw in his last fight, I would put him towards the bottom tier of the heavyweight division. So for me, I think that the pick is obvious for Jake Collier, but I cannot advise anyone to put hard-earned money on Jake Collier in this fight, with him being, like a minus 400 favorite, and being a guy who tends to have the worst luck when it goes to decision. So in the off chance that this goes to a decision and Jake Collier is not able to get the finish, I would not want to be Jake Collier because judges don't like him for whatever reason. So with that said, Jake Collier should be an easy pick. He should win. I wouldn't put it on my parlay for the simple fact that those split decisions are going to be a nightmare while you're waiting for the judges to read their cards. But the pick's Collier, so let me know what you think. All right, really interesting matchup in our next one. We have the Night Wolf, Jamie Pickett, taking on Denis Tiuliulin. And for this one here, we got 2-3 on the last 5 for Jamie Pickett and 3-2 in his last 5 for Denis Tiuliulin. This fight here, I want to preface the fight by saying in a favorable matchup for Jamie Pickett, I will take him every single time because he does have a specific matchup where he can come in and control that fight up against the cage using that clinch work. He does have a very strong clinch game. If that fight is the fight that we're going to see out of Jamie Pickett, I will take him every single time. However, that only works against very specific opponents. So in this matchup, he's going up against Denis Tiuliulin, who has a strong forward pressure, serious knockout power, but doesn't want to grapple. So for Pickett, he has that 3-inch reach advantage that he probably won't use because he's going to try to force it up against the cage in the clinch. Over on the Tiuliulin side, he's going to be coming forward, throwing power, trying to walk down Pickett, and doing everything he can to avoid getting a push up against the clinch. So it's going to be a strong clash here. Pickett is not the guy that I would pick to... See what I did there? Pickett is not a person I would pick in this matchup, simply because Denis Tiuliulin is going to be able to impose his will on Jamie Pickett here. And like I said, Jamie Pickett looks like a world beater in some fights when coming in as the underdog against Joseph Holmes. He clearly beat Joseph Holmes without too much trouble. But Tiuliulin is that style where a guy with lower output, such as Pickett, is going to really struggle. And because of the power in Tiuliulin's hands, I won't be surprised if he can drop Pickett. He may or may not get the finish. Pickett can be tough to put away sometimes. But Tiuliulin here, he does have some serious KO power, and he's dropped quite a few people in his career so far, and fought a very hard level of competition on the regional scene, even before getting into the UFC. So for me, the pick is Denis Tiuliulin simply because he has that knockout power, that forward pressure, that someone who doesn't have a lot of volume and won't use his reach advantage in the striking. It's just going to be a bad matchup for Pickett. Denis Tiuliulin should get the win here as a slight underdog. All right, so I'm going to make this next one quick. We have Jailton Almeida taking on Anton Turkalj. I think that's how you say it. Both guys 5-0 in their last 5 fights. Here's the problem. This is a short notice replacement. Anton Turkalj stepping in last minute. He's going to be massively outsized because Almeida was already preparing for a heavyweight bout. Turkalj was basically looking for a light heavyweight fight. He didn't end up getting anything, so took the short notice fight against Almeida. Almeida is a monster grappler, and as you see, 6.27 takedowns per 15 minutes in the UFC thus far. This guy's an animal. There's a reason that Almeida is like minus 725 favorite right now on this fight, and Turkalj is a good fighter. I don't think he's bad at all. Good grappler, able to typically control his opponents, but he's going against Jailton Almeida, who's probably going to ragdoll him, and it's crazy to say because Almeida is a beast in light heavyweight, doesn't matter. So, yeah, I mean, as much as I like to think, Turkalj, good on you for taking that short notice fight, man, he's stepping in. He's stepping into the hornet's nest here. I'll be very surprised if Almeida loses this fight, and if he does lose, it will not go over well for him because, like I said, Anton Turkalj, short notice, outsized. Clear pick here is Jailton Almeida, but those odds are steep. All right, in this matchup, we have one I'm really excited about. We have Hakeem Dawodu taking on Juicy J, Julian Erosa. Now, both guys 4-1 in their last 5 fights. Before we get any further, I need to preface the rest of this video by saying I am a huge Julian Erosa fan. He is actually one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. I know that sounds crazy. He's not a top 5 ranked guy, but cannot ever have a boring fight. Julian Erosa is my friggin' guy. Juicy J for the win. Okay, now that I've got that out of the way, I'm going to try to break down this fight as completely unbiased as I possibly can. But I wanted to point that out because let's be real. That is going to be hard to completely put out of my mind. So take this pick with a grain of salt. I'm going to tell you ahead of time. I'm picking Julian Erosa here. So there we go. We've got that clear. But I'm going to break this fight down. So maybe I can give you something to at least see if maybe you think otherwise. So, okay. So for Dawodu, 5'8", Julian Erosa 6'1". So obviously the height advantage is there. The reach advantage is like 2 to 2.5 inches, something like that. It's not as drastic as the height. So the reason I pointed out the height though is because there are things other than your arms that go into your reach. You have a leg reach, and Julian Erosa should have that. He will be able to keep his range better if he wants to. Sometimes he doesn't. He loves to get into a firefight, which does not always go his way. However, in his last 5 fights, 4 of them have. So that is to be said. So with that, Hakeem Dawodu, very strong fighter, very strong striker, very strong striker, very strong striking defense. So the guy is probably the better minute winner out of the two. And I write that here. The reason I say that is because he's technically sound on the feet. He is able to touch up his opponents, get that volume out there, start winning those minutes by landing those strikes. But he also doesn't get hit very often because he does have a good defense. He's able to move out of the way, block his shots, whatever. He is good offensively and defensively when it comes to on the feet. Erosa, on the other hand, he's never out of a fight. Unless you put him completely out cold, this guy is going to be in that fight from the start of the fight until that fight is over. Because something that Erosa has shown, and I don't know where it came from, because when he was in his first stint in the UFC, his chin wasn't it wasn't a legendary chin by any means. He'd been knocked out a few times. In his last 5 fights, basically in this run in the UFC that he's on now, that dude can eat a shot. I don't know what changed. I don't know if it was something in his training. I don't know. But Julian Erosa will get in there. He'll give one to take one. I have a plus minus right next to that. The reason why is because sometimes that's really good. Other times that is not. So, but in this fight, I think that is a key for Julian Erosa to be able to win this fight, is to be willing to give one to take one, or take one to give one, for that matter. So if he can eat one of Dawodu's shots and strike back with one of his own, I do think that Erosa does have the ability to damage Dawodu over the fight, more so than Dawodu to damage Erosa. And that comes from Erosa's ability to use his elbows, use his knees, throw big shots that'll drop a lot of guys, put them down. He's knocked out plenty of fighters, slumped them in the late rounds just to get the late finish. But he also does have a slight grappling edge here. So I would say Erosa's long arms do help him out with things like Darce chokes, or basically any sort of front choke is where Erosa has the advantage there. Those long, lanky arms are able to slip under the chin pretty easily in any of those quick grappling exchanges. Dawodu gets hit, decides to shoot a takedown. Nope, doesn't go there. So for me, I think Erosa has a really good upside here as a fairly decent underdog. I think he was like plus 180 last I saw, maybe plus 185. I could see a path to victory for Dawodu. Like I said, if it goes to decision, Dawodu is the better minute winner. So maybe you're looking, okay, this fight might go to decision. And I believe Erosa's last fight did go to decision, which with Steve Peterson, which is not what Steve Peterson, was that it? I think so. Anyway, I think that was his last fight. But anyway, so Erosa last fight I think did go to decision, and he won the split, but it was close. Dawodu, if it goes to decision, will probably get that victory. I don't think it'll be a split. I think it will be a unanimous decision for Dawodu. He is the more technically proficient, but I'm predicting Erosa by finish here. I can't say knockout, can't say submission, one way or the other. Erosa's probably getting it done here. For my money, I'm putting it on Erosa. That dude fights for your money like nobody else. And like I said, he's one of my favorite fighters, so take this with a grain of salt. All right, a real interesting matchup here between Johnny Walker and Ian Cutelaba. Both guys with a really salty 5 on in. 1-3-1 for Cutelaba, 1-4 for Johnny Walker. Let's figure out why that is. Okay, so Ian Cutelaba, awful fight IQ, awful gas tank, basically needs to get a finish in the first round or he has no chance here. Same thing for Johnny Walker, though. He's a glass cannon. So this is good because he has really good KO power, but it's bad because he cannot take a shot whatsoever. So why is Johnny Walker 1-4 in his last 5? Well, he gets hit and dropped easily. Why is he on Cutelaba 1-3-1 in his last 5? Well, for one, he starts out really strong, but he gasses out. So it's if you can get a 10-8 in the first round, lose the next 2 10-9, that's where you get that. The other 3 are because you get a 10-9 in the first round and you lose the rest. Or you can get finished. Obviously, there's always that option. But that's what happens to Cutelaba. Awful fight IQ gets him beat. I believe Ryan Spann finished him. That's not a good look for you. But so my pick here, I'm gonna go ahead and first I'm gonna highlight the reach because Johnny Walker's 6'6" with an 82-inch reach, as opposed to Ian Cutelaba's 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. If Johnny Walker can use his reach to hit Cutelaba before he can get into wrestling range, he may be able to end this fight early. Not likely. My guess is first round, Ian Cutelaba puts the pressure on, throws some hands on the way in, gets the takedown, ground and pound finish. So I'm going to take Cutelaba here. 0 confidence. 0. This fight I am not confident in whatsoever. Please, please, please. Usually I will tell you, come back to this video, make fun of me if I pick the wrong one, tell me I'm a dummy. Literally, I have to pick one, and they're both, neither guy is going to get many picks from me in the future. I don't see a big future for either of them, but I'm going to take Cutelaba in this matchup. I won't be surprised if it goes the other way. But let me know what you think. Maybe you think I'm totally overlooking Johnny Walker's finishing upside. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you think Cutelaba's gotten better, his gas tank's going to be better, his fight IQ isn't as bad as I think it is, let me know that in the comments as well. But Cutelaba's the pick here. All right, so now we have Irene Aldana taking on Macy Chiasson. Both ladies 3-2 in their last 5 fights. For Macy Chiasson, that's been a mix of bantamweight and featherweight. So kind of some issues on the scale with some of her earlier matchups at bantamweight, or her more recent matchups at bantamweight, actually. Something that is tough to do is make bantamweight when you are 5'11". I do want to point out that reach, that height and reach, 5'9" to 5'11", 68.5 to 72-inch reach. So Macy Chiasson will have the reach advantage. However, the footwork from Aldana is likely to be able to counter that. This fight is actually going to be very similar to the Jamie Pickett and Denis Tiuliulin match I had earlier on the card. So for me, we've got Chiasson, the taller, rangier fighter, that's going to want to work the clinch. Her best path to victory here is to work her clinch, get Aldana up against the cage, work her elbows. She does do really good work when she separates from the clinch, hitting those elbows. For Aldana here, her best bet is to keep this fight in space, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because typically the shorter fighter doesn't want to be at range. However, Aldana does. She has really good footwork. She does hit harder than most of the division. So for me, because of the similarities to that other matchup I had mentioned earlier, as much as I would like to say Chiasson is gonna, she's gonna make the weight, everything's gonna be great, no troubles there, I don't know, and that scares me. So the gas tank scares me. The need for the clinch scares me. Because of that, I'm gonna take Aldana here. I do think that the better footwork, the better striking power, it's gonna play into her advantage quite a bit in this fight. Chiasson does have that path to victory for the clinch. This isn't one of my most confident picks by any means, but I will take Aldana for the sake of the pick. So Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez. Kevin Holland 2-2-1, Daniel Rodriguez 4-1. So here's the thing though. This 2-2-1 is deceptive. Why is that? Well, these two here are at welterweight, which is what this fight's at. These two here are at middleweight. This one here is a very strange fight against Kyle Dawkins. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one. But 2 at welterweight, since he's gone back to welterweight, 2 at middleweight. So realistically, Kevin Holland looked a lot better since he's been at welterweight than he was at middleweight towards the end there, even though he was going up against some of the best top-level middleweights in the division. So take that as you will. But Daniel Rodriguez looking pretty good, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Arguably 5-0. You know how it is. But so let's get into this. So here's the thing. We have 2 fighters that like to use a similar style. So both guys like to be strong, rangy strikers. But 6'3", 81-inch reach, 6'1", 74-inch reach. That is like so freaking huge. That is a massive reach advantage. So 81 to 74. Imaginary ruler? Man, that's crazy. So Kevin Holland's going to be able to hit Daniel Rodriguez. Sorry, that was an awful joke. Daniel Rodriguez is going to get hit, but way earlier than Kevin Holland will. So Kevin Holland, when he pops his jab out, Daniel Rodriguez pops his jab out, which is a strong jab, by the way. Dude's got solid jabs, good rangy punches, solid boxing. Holland's going to land, Rodriguez is going to fall short when they're both at range. Why is that important? Well, because both guys are probably going to want to do the same thing. Use their range, use their boxing to control the fight. That favors a guy like Kevin Holland in this matchup because he does have such a long range. He does have deceptive power. At some point, Daniel Rodriguez, his best path to victory might be to take Kevin Holland down, or at least in his mind it might be. Well, Kevin Holland's got sneaky jiu-jitsu as well. We've seen him get some submission wins in the past. You can't count him out on the ground. The thing he struggles with is heavy, strong wrestlers. Very top-tier wrestlers. Daniel Rodriguez, he might be a good wrestler, but he's not the level of like a Marvin Vettori or a Derek Brunson, something like that. Those guys were able to hold Kevin Holland down, and there's a reason for that. They're top level, they're also middleweights, and they're also very high-level wrestlers. So with that, Rodriguez, over a year off with a broken hand, broke it in his last fight, tried to come back too early, re-broke the dang thing, had to get surgery again. Not a good thing for a guy who wants to come in and use his hands to open up the game with his boxing. I will not be surprised if Daniel Rodriguez wins this fight, but all signs say Kevin Holland should win this fight based on the reach advantage, based on similar styles, with Holland being able to hit first. I'm taking Holland here. Don't bet the house on this one, guys, but Holland's my pick. If you disagree with me, if you think Daniel Rodriguez is going to get the win, please let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think, why you think Daniel Rodriguez is the better choice here. If you think maybe he's a better wrestler, if you think this, and this, whatever it is, let me know what your thoughts are, because I could still be swayed on this one, but I am going to take Kevin Holland at this point. If I do change my pick, I will put out a video for you. So, Kevin Holland. All right, in our co-main event of the evening, we have Jingliang taking on Tony Ferguson. 3-2 for Jingliang, 1-4 for Tony Ferguson. That's a 4-fight skid for Ferguson. He is now moving up to welterweight to take on Jingliang here in this fight. Tony Ferguson, he won the Ultimate Fighter at welterweight, so it's not like he hasn't been here before. It's just been a while, and he now more has a frame for the lightweight division, but welterweight is where we find him tonight, or on Saturday. He does, although have a 155ers frame, he does have the 4.5-inch reach advantage over Jingliang, which is kind of a surprising thing, but he has those really long, lanky arms, so just kind of built like a goblin. I think Tony Ferguson is part goblin. Let me know what you think about that. Leave me a comment if you think Tony Ferguson is part goblin. All right, back to the fight. So, Tony Ferguson, he has fought the highest of level of competition. There's no higher level than this. He's fought all of them. A who's who in the lightweight division, not light heavyweight, lightweight division. Strong jiu-jitsu, nasty elbows. But he's coming off of a very gnarly KO loss to Michael Chandler, and that was only 3 months ago. Maybe 4. 3 or 4 months ago. Taking a lot of damage in his career. Not something you like to see, from a guy this late in the career and on a 4-fight losing streak. For Jingliang, we have a guy that puts damage on people. He has knocked out Ponzinibbio and Salikov in his last 5 fights. So the guy can crack, because Ponzinibbio is hard to put down. Put him down. Put down Salikov. Pushes a good pace while doing so. Okay. So Jingliang should win this fight. He is the odds-on favorite. He's the one that I'm going to pick for my official pick. Can Ferguson win this fight? Yes. He has a couple of paths to victory, one being the jiu-jitsu, another being that he has those nasty elbows. He's able to cut you open, maybe get a doctor stoppage with a nasty cut. He can also just get the TKO, but realistically, Ferguson needs to bounce back from those 4 losses, and I don't know that this is the best matchup for him. I don't think that this is it. So, do I think Tony Ferguson should be totally counted out in this fight? No, not quite. We're going to see an interesting comparison to this fight in the main event, so stay tuned. But I do think that Li Jingliang is the rightful favorite here, and I will take him to win this fight. So Li Jingliang gets this one done. Unfortunately, probably by some sort of a finish. It is now time for our main event of the evening: Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. But first, if you've made it this far in the video and you have not liked the video yet, what the heck is wrong with you? I'm giving you all these picks for free. The least you could do is like the dang thing, huh? All right, so back to the picks. Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz. Khamzat Chimaev coming in 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Obviously, the guy's undefeated. Nate Diaz, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Some of those better than others. But yeah, so there's not much to say here. Nate Diaz, good jiu-jitsu, good cardio, ton of miles on the body. Lost to Masvidal due to a doctor stoppage with the cut. That scar tissue just breaks open the second you hit it. The guy has been in some wars. He's getting towards the end of his career. Doesn't look good there. Arguably could have put away Leon Edwards in their fight had he had a little bit better fight IQ in the 5th round. Cracks him, and instead of going in to get the finish, he decides to taunt and gesture at Leon Edwards, and realistically, that could have cost him the fight. There is a very real possibility that after he cracks Leon Edwards, if he pursues that, goes in to try to get the finish, he does get it. Maybe not. Real possibility, though. Either way, I don't think Nate Diaz makes it to the 5th round in this fight. And I know that everybody's going to say, oh, but Nate Diaz, never count him out. Khamzat Chimaev is a monster. He is stronger, faster, more powerful, stellar wrestling. Look at these stupid stats. These are stupid crazy. Okay, 7.89 significant strikes per minute in the UFC. That's in the UFC. Okay, 3.23 takedowns per minute, or per 15 minutes, sorry. Per 15 minutes in the UFC. These are crazy stats. You don't see these two things combined on hardly anybody's stat sheet at the UFC level. Khamzat Chimaev is a beast. One-shot KO to Gerald Mearshart up at 185. Nate Diaz is at 155 or fighting up at 170 right now. Khamzat Chimaev is a monster. This guy went 3 rounds with Gilbert Burns. Heck of a fight. Clearly won the fight. I know some people are, oh, Gilbert won that one. No, Gilbert won the 2nd round. Khamzat Chimaev won that round, or that fight. Okay. Plain and simple, Chimaev's a monster. Ragdolled Li Jingliang. That is the guy that we're picking to beat Tony Ferguson in the co-main event. He ragdolled him, untouched, picked him up, carried him over, talked to the boss, slammed his ass down, and then finished him off. Khamzat Chimaev's a monster. Nate Diaz does not stand a chance here. I know, never count Diaz out. He's a monster. There may be a time we worry about Khamzat Chimaev losing and we think, oh, maybe it's time to fade him. It is not this fight. Nate Diaz, as all due respect, all that stuff, no chance in winning this fight, short of a miracle. I mean, Chimaev could throw a kick, break his leg, and still probably win the fight on one leg in this fight. I know that sounds crazy to say. I don't mean to talk shit to Nate Diaz. The guy is a legend. The guy is a great fighter. Hung in there with Leon Edwards. I just don't think he's ready to face someone like Khamzat Chimaev. Nate Diaz is on his way out of the UFC. This is his last fight on his contract. He's made it known. He's opened his own fight promotion. So obviously, he's making it clear that he does not plan to re-sign with the UFC unless he's pulling a fast one on all of us. Yeah, Chimaev. I mean, if you think Nate Diaz has a real shot at winning, please let me know in the comments with anything other than you can never count out Nate Diaz, because that is not a viable argument in this fight. If that's your argument, I mean, okay, if Nate Diaz wins this fight, please come back to this video, comment, and tell me how much of a big fat dummy I am, and show me your bet slip showing that you put the house down on Nate Diaz, because I want to see it. But otherwise, if that's not the case, Khamzat Chimaev. Realistically, though, if you do have a path to victory for Diaz, please put it down in the comments. I would like to hear it. Don't think it's there, but I can't find one short of a absolute miracle. So the pick is Khamzat Chimaev. Should be easy. Probably done in the first round. And I think you can still play the under 1.5 at plus money, plus 130 maybe. So yeah, might be worth it.